Hey guys, Nayosha here from Vagation. So today for Work It Wednesday, we have part 2 of our interview with Attorney James Maye. And if you watched part 1, you know that you got some invaluable information. And today you're going to continue getting some incredible, invaluable information. Information that will not only change you, but also change the outcome for your family. Get your pens and pencils ready, get your notepads, and listen up. This stuff is so important, so critical to your future and the future of your family. I give to you part 2, Work It Wednesday with Attorney James Maye. Enjoy. Awesome. So we have our real estate 101 captured. I want to talk to you now about 2 different areas. One is very critical to homeowners, just generally to anyone that has a family or loved ones out there, and that is estate planning. Oftentimes as realtors, we will be involved in selling an estate and or helping someone who is elderly and needs to move out of the home. And while it's not our job or in our purview to help them with estate planning, we can definitely get them in touch with individuals like yourselves, professionals that actually handle this area. And on a more personal note, I'm sure that many people can relate that they've had a family member who needed to sell the home, or someone that passed and the home needed to be sold and there was no will in place. So what can you say to us about estate planning, because most people don't have a will or a living trust in place?
Yeah, the easy answer for the will and the need for it for a good part of our population is I say, do you have a child? Forget about assets. Do you have a child? The will is what's going to determine guardianship, pure and simple. If there is no will, then the judge is going to make that decision for you, and they're going to be competing individuals, all good-natured, who want to raise your child. And you may say that if I were still alive, this would not be the person who would be raising my child. So in terms of wills, I always say you have to have a will because you want to make the determination of, number one, who's going to raise your child or children, and secondarily, how do you want your assets distributed? If you don't have a will, then it's based on Connecticut law, and Connecticut law does not necessarily distribute assets the way you would like if you were still here to make that decision. So I always say have that in place. In addition to that, and you raise a very good issue about having to sell a home, that becomes a home. It can become an issue when you pass if you don't have the will in place. But it's even more of an issue when you're alive, believe it or not, because I've had to deal with conservatorships. And so as the population starts to age and our loved ones start to lose their faculties a bit, things happen in terms of needs for assets and also a need for certain protections in place. So if you're elderly and you're starting to experience Alzheimer's, dementia, things like that, if you don't have anything in place, then no one can act for you without going to probate court and getting the court's approval. And then at that point, the court will appoint a conservator to manage your affairs. That conservator may be a family member, which is what you would like, but it could also be an attorney appointed by the court. So as we get older, and that includes myself, we start putting things in place early on so that we have a decision maker there who can do things that they need to do.
Right.
We put a power of attorney in place so that gives that person authority to make financial decisions. We put in a healthcare proxy or medical directive so that allows that person to communicate with the doctor and make medical decisions on our behalf while we're still of sound mind. I don't want to go off too much, but I got a call 2 weeks ago from a gentleman in Puerto Rico. And he actually had decided to put his father into a conservatorship.
Okay.
He did that not knowing that his father had changed the will and disowned all 5 of the children who live in Puerto Rico. He lives here. He had been unduly influenced by the other elderly gentleman that lives with him. So he changed his will and named him as the sole beneficiary and disinherited all 5 children.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so he said, what can I do? I said, now you can't do anything because he's not of sound mind, so he cannot amend his will. So you're going to have to go back and try to prove fraud from when he changed the will 10 years ago.
Oh, my.
Yes. Yes, that's a real
Insurmountable.
example.
Oh my
Insurmountable.
gosh.
So you want to actually do things now. You want to actually have the package, which, when I work with clients, I try to put together an entire package. It includes the will. So now the will is going to govern how assets are distributed upon your passing, as well as who's going to handle the raising of your children. I try to put in place a power of attorney, because a power of attorney is going to govern when you're still alive, but you don't have the wherewithal to make financial decisions.
Okay.
Same thing with the healthcare directive, which will allow this person to make medical decisions for you. And also, you may be like my aunt who says, if something happens to me, I don't want anyone to pull the plug. I have a living will. I suggest a living will for everyone. You don't want to be hooked up to a machine for the next 10 years when you're in a vegetative state and then just accumulating a bunch of medical bills.
Right.
But I don't make religious decisions for clients, and I know God works in mysterious ways. So some people say I'm going to stay on that machine forever because God's going to bring me back. That's a personal choice.
Okay. Oh my gosh, that is powerful. People, if you have children, get a living will. Okay. Last two questions, because I know your time is limited here. So there is the B word. The B word that people are just afraid of. They don't want to hear. They don't want to say it. They don't want to be associated with it. And so that B word is bankruptcy.
Yes.
Yes. Some people don't understand it. They know there's a chapter here, there's a chapter there, but they really don't understand the main differences. We hear often that chapter 7 and chapter 13 are options for us, but what does that really mean? What are the biggest misconceptions that people have about the bankruptcy process?
Yeah, the biggest is that I'm going to lose everything, and you're not. The options for most people that I deal with is what's called a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, which is where you file the bankruptcy and you get your debts totally wiped out, and then you get what they call a fresh start. And so from beginning to end, the entire process is about 6 months. The other option is a Chapter 13 bankruptcy. In a Chapter 13 bankruptcy, you'll still receive a discharge of your debts, so you won't owe medical bills, credit card bills, any of these personal loans that you may have taken out. But the difference is you're making a payment over the course of the next 3 years to 5 years, where you're paying a fraction of that debt. And then at the completion of that 3 to 5 year period, that's when the debts get wiped out. So the difference is, one is an immediate wiping out of the debts. The other is the wiping out of the debts over a 3 to 5 year period. So that's the biggest misconception, is that you're going to lose everything. The court will allow you to keep your home. The only time you run into an issue about the retention of your home or the retention of assets is if you have a huge amount of equity.
Okay.
So other than that, you're fine.
Okay. Awesome. Were you all blown away? That was like incredible information there. Oh my gosh. I just want to keep asking you questions and just picking your brain on all the knowledge that you have. But people, Attorney James Maye, he is administered to practice law in New York and Connecticut, and he is a wealth of information. Bankruptcy, real estate, estate planning, this is your guy. Take the information that he's providing, apply it to your life, apply it to your family, apply it to your finances. This is Nyosha from Vagation saying thank you for watching, and thank you, Attorney Maye.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Awesome. Bye, Navigators.